This year, we deepened our commitment to digital freedom by fighting for an open internet in Turkey, Russia, China, and around the world, by challenging government surveillance all the way to the Supreme Court, by issuing a landmark report on the impact of surveillance on writers, and by joining the Global Network Initiative, a group of NGOs, academics, and tech companies like Google, Yahoo, and Twitter. We also completed a study showing that nearly 50% of the persecuted writers we help are in trouble because of some form of digital communication, a blog post, a video, a tweet. In the 21st century, free expression is as threatened, if not more so, online as off. So tonight, we're especially pleased to announce the creation of a new award, the PEN Tony and James C. Goodale Digital Freedom Award, generously endowed by Tony and James C. Goodale. I would like to ask them to stand and be recognized. The inaugural PEN Tony and James C. Goodale Digital Freedom Award will go to Twitter CEO Dick Costello. Since its creation 8 years ago, Twitter has become a catalyst for free expression and the spread of ideas. Under Dick Costello, its global use base has quadrupled to more than 200 million monthly active users. On Twitter, writers can share their work with this vast global audience. Human rights defenders can live tweet a developing crisis to journalists, and people all over the world can debate politics, share information, plan gatherings, and learn from each other's views. I know that Twitter has revolutionized my own work as a writer, keeping me more closely in touch, even from New York, with events on the ground in Africa. I can now hear divergent voices from all protagonists in a situation, from victims and perpetrators, witnesses and observers. For people in Africa and many other areas formerly considered remote by the rest of the world, Twitter has meant an easing, even an end of isolation, an end to silence. These people no longer have to wait for some amplifier to arrive, often with a personal agenda, some missionary, explorer, foreign correspondent, or aid worker. Now people and communities can speak with their own voices, unmediated, raw, direct. In a word, confusing. Can I just have your attention for a few more minutes, please? In a word, confusing, but it is the exfoliating confusion of competing views. Participants each shine their own beam from a different angle until at last that elusive beast, truth, is illuminated, triangulated. Of course, you sometimes suffer from voicing dissenting views. The Ugandan dictator Idi Amin once improbably assured us that in his country you have freedom of speech. He waited a beat and then went on, but freedom after speech, that I cannot guarantee. That's why PEN is busier than we've ever been, as those who would rule try to muzzle those who would criticize. Not everybody celebrates critics, of course. The poet Thomas Rhymer, a great name for a poet unless you work in blank verse, complained way back in the 17th century that till of late years, England was free from critics, as it is from wolves. But this messy plurality of opinions is what we celebrate at PEN. It's the spirit personified by the Russian poet, translator, and novelist Boris Pasternak. At a meeting in the old USSR when he was objecting to writers jobbing to Soviet orders, he was shouted down by his peers. "Don't yell at me," Pasternak responded. "But if you must yell, at least don't do it in unison." Today I find myself revisiting events and wondering how they might have played out differently had today's suite of digital communications existed then. It took us months to get inside southern Zimbabwe to discover the full extent of the Matabeleland massacres. A few early tweets might have changed the course of history there, and in many similar situations. Today, at the very least, we can no longer plead ignorance. And so we salute Twitter for helping to eliminate ignorance as a moral alibi. For his leadership and vision in furthering Twitter as a platform for enabling free expression and fostering worldwide dialogue, PEN is proud to present the PEN Tony and James C. Goodale Digital Freedom Award to Dick Costello.
I truly will be brief, and I know that may cause some of you to say, "Dear God," and reach for the bottle of wine you have hidden under the table, but I shall. I think all awards recipients should be forced to give their remarks under the hulking mass of a blue whale as a mechanism for keeping their egos in check. I'll just say this. First of all, it's a remarkable thing to be asked to talk to you all and receive this award in front of so many people whose books have actually been burned. So to receive this award in front of some of you it's an extraordinary thing to be given an award like this in front of those of you who have been jailed for your works and your words. It's just a remarkable thing, and I'm humbled by the award and by your presence. The second thing I'll say is that this award surely goes to the people of Twitter who work every day around the world, in Turkey, in Russia, everywhere, to ensure that the users of the platform can continue to engage in the global conversation. One of the remarkable things about Twitter is that it hasn't just eradicated these barriers to conversation that were physical between us, not just barriers of geography and geopolitics, and in countries where the state controlled the media. Not only there has it eradicated those barriers, but it's eradicated all these artificial barriers to communication, barriers of status, barriers of socioeconomic boundaries. And so you see these wonderful, new, for the very first time, kinds of conversations that have never existed before between Salman Rushdie and his readers and other authors, some of them humorous, but remember Sarah Silverman tweeting during the holidays about a year and a half ago, "If the holidays are bringing you down, just pretend you're in a Woody Allen movie." And Mia Farrow responded, "I tried that and it doesn't work." And so those kinds of conversations have never happened before in front of all of us. And I would just say that the fascinating thing about this award and that the work that the team does every day is, I was asked by a bunch of our investors, how are you going to ensure that the needs of the business aren't in conflict with the desires and rights of your users? And my response to that is always very simple, in that it's never that the needs of the business and the rights of the users are in conflict with one another. It's always that the rights of one set of users and the rights of another set of users are in conflict with one another. And around the world, where speech laws are so very different from country to country, and cultural mores are so very different from country to country, the work that the team does every day to walk that fine line and make sure that the rights of all users are protected and the rights and voices of our users are protected and ensured as greatly and widely as possible is hard work. We have 500 million tweets go out every day, and if there's just one conflict between two sets of users and 1 in a million of those tweets, we have 500 issues every day. So once again, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the team for all the hard work they've done do every day to promote and ensure the rights of our users and our users' voices. And it's just a real honor to be here in front of you tonight. Thanks so much.